year's 2005. You've just stepped into the theater. Nerds are everywhere. Sabers are raised, and you're about to watch Revenge of the Sith for the first time. Travel forward 20 years in the future. You're playing Star Wars Legion all the time and listening to this podcast. Welcome to the X and One Legion cast. How's it going, everybody?
Woo!
I'm Randy. I'm here with Matt and Mitchum and special guest friend of the show, LJ Pena. How's it going, guys?
Going good. Hanging in there.
Fantastic.
Loving the episode 3 love lately.
I went and saw the theater re-release today, and Hayden Christensen recorded a message just for me. I mean, he called me audience, but I know what that really means. But yeah, he thanked me for coming to watch the movie and making Star Wars so special. So how can I not be excited?
The episode, the movie posters that they've been releasing are
that poster
so
is fire.
It's fantastic. Yeah,
I will have to admit, I was kind of hoping he wouldn't go to the dark side this time just to change it up. But it still happened.
You were hoping you were that 1 out of every 20 screenings where it's the what if Star Wars.
We know George likes to get in there and cut things up and mess with it, so you never know what's going to happen.
That's a solid McClunky for me, boss.
Oh, man. But yeah, we are going to be talking about some cool LVO news today. As you might have heard, there is a second one happening. Somehow LVO returned in 2025. And then we're going to be talking about, we got a unit watch going on. So our heroes and zero picks right now. So guys that got some cool upgrades from Legion 0, -1, new edition, current edition, past, present, future, all are one now.
261.
And the ones that still could use a little help. But we'll see. Yeah. But first, we have to do what we do. Hobby harassment. I will go first. Speaking of we do what we do, I've got a little Omega here.
Ooh. Omega.
Yeah. It's a little proxy with the hat. So
nice.
This is my season 2
Nice.
one. I've got my proxies for Rebels, and then I've got my main ones for my clone army in 2030 that I'll be playing. Because that's what I'll get Shakti. But yeah, that's been mostly it for me. I went real hard on table stuff for that last tournament, and now I've fallen off a bit. But I've almost got Echo done, so working on Echo. His little tech hand keeps breaking off, the little insert. Yeah,
that's tough.
And so I keep finding different ways to fashion a new one because obviously I lose it. But yeah. What you got, Matt?
Okay, so wrong podcast. So I've been doing some Halo stuff. I've got a little flag. The little flag. I've got a little Spartan guy.
Nice.
So been doing that.
I see some table terrain behind you.
I've got a bunch of terrain I printed back there.
X and One Discord, zoom in on Matt's background and harass him badly in chat.
Please. Don't look at mine.
Don't look. There's a lot of gray back there.
My room is messy.
No, I've been printing, slowly in progress, printing a very elaborate ATTE for Mitchum's table.
Nice.
And it is, it's quite, hang on, let me go over. Leaving the mic.
Everyone else keeps showing off their Felucia tables, trying to
make Mitchum
bring Mitchum down. So
okay,
he's just gonna come with the ATT.
Sorry, podcast people. This is our audio people. This is Darth Vader. This is the gun on the ATT. This is how big it is.
Jeez.
So it's huge. If you stand it up, it's taller than the ATST, and it's stretching. So
nice.
Very large.
I
think it's 60 some pieces. So thanks, Mitchum. Love it. Love printing an elaborate ATTE because you don't have a 3D printer. Bamboo Lab, please send a 3D printer.
Please sponsor.
Please sponsor.
So yeah, no, it's been pretty fun. So it's a really cool print. But yeah, so that's the main thing I've been doing is a lot of 3D printing and a little bit of paint. But that's me.
Awesome. Yeah, we're just gonna move right over the table. I did paint something though. I just busted this guy out. This is my
Ooh,
third
nice.
ATRT for my
Okay.
Rebel Army, and I built him with the
good
flamethrower
basing.
because I don't have one with a flamethrower.
Did you do it where you can pull the weapons out and switch them?
Okay, so I had it like that, and I asked my wife. I was like, okay, so all my ATRTs are this weapon for Rebels. It's the rotary blaster. Should I build it? Should I build this one with the same weapon to make them all three the same? Because I was like, symmetry looks nice, like whatever. But then I was like, I don't have an ATRT with a flamethrower across GAR or Rebels. She's like, well, yeah, you should just build that then. I was like, okay. So it works out because I'm actually going to play it as a flamethrower in my list coming up this weekend. So yeah. I mean, these guys are super easy to paint. Does this count as a vehicle? Am I a 2?
Come on.
2 am I 3?
Come on, Mitchell.
I mean, what does the unit card say?
It does say ground vehicle.
I'm just saying.
Ugh.
Just saying.
Don't let him off the hook, LJ.
Fight me on the Discord, boys. Fight me on the Discord.
I will go back and check the record and see if I said big vehicle.
I think you did say big vehicles.
Hey,
Okay.
I do have a bus.
You've built Republic and Rebel ATRTs. Are they similar kits? Are they?
So yes, there's my Rebel, my GAR one right there that's unpainted on my shelf. This actually was a GAR ATRT, and then I had a buddy Patrick. He had an extra Rebel rider, and I just put him on there. So this is a GAR ATRT.
Okay.
And then I just put. So I think it's just only the rider that matters. So yeah, and he looks a little bit different than my other two guys, but it's close enough. So all the basing looks the same.
I couldn't decide on my ATRT weapon, so I magnetized mine for the hot swap.
That's probably what I should have done, but I didn't.
They dry fit pretty well too.
I didn't want to paint all of them, so. But yeah,
understandable.
And then the table is still. That's fine. So. Yeah.
Oh
Very
man.
Nice.
LJ, do you have time to paint anything when you're not planning a tournament? Or
I mean, I'm actually fairly caught up on Legion things specifically. My project over this week and last week was to finish getting all of my MCP magnetized for easy transport and storage and such. So actually, they're not painted, but I do have the proof, the magnets in the bottom of Baron Zemo and Winter Soldier here.
Ooh,
nice.
Because I love magnets and I will magnet everything all the time forever.
Yep.
So that's been my hobby focus over the last couple of weeks. Really post Adepticon is I want everything to be nice and organized here at the house, and for me a big step of that is getting it magnetized because it makes it easier for me to do long-term storage and keep it away from 4-year-old hands who likes to touch my toys and can recognize IP-friendly people such as Tony Stark and wants to play with my Iron Man from the original MCP core set and crash him into things these days.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is a tiny, fragile model that will break.
My son just turned 4, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah. It's a great time, especially because he is quoting like scenes from Star Wars now. He wants to watch the one with Jabba the Hutt, which is Return of the Jedi, all the time right now. And then like he looked at me and he said like, "That's not true. That's impossible." And I was like, "Oh, singular tear."
Yeah.
How could you not? How could you not just love that?
That's
So
awesome.
That's fatherhood
That's
done right there.
yeah.
That's great.
But yeah, that'll be my big thing. Once I get that done, there'll be some other painting backlog stuff to do. My aquas still are not done, so they're probably in the hopper next. And then I'll just be should be all cleaned up on my droids for a while.
Nice.
Yeah, until I buy more B2s, which might happen next month. So we'll see.
Oh yeah,
because we got the B2 box next month.
Yes, yeah.
They were smart to get that one back out quickly.
Well, Custom Commanders are coming out here pretty soon too. So
yeah,
you gonna build the spider
oh
guy? Yeah.
See, and I only have one super tack.
Oh, perfect.
So I was like, oh, that's a shoe in for me. Now that you can run multiple in the same list, it's too easy. So yes, I'm totally buying that kit. I'm actually I was actually thinking about waiting and getting a droid core set instead of just the B2s, because that will allow me to build some super squads with my B1s, which I can kind of fudge some super squads, but I can't really make a lot of them. So I only have 2 sets of decas. So that would get me my 3rd set of decas, and it would get me some B1s, and then I get the cool new Grievous Sculpt and squad of B2s or whatever. So, I think that's in my
It's a good
future.
value. Good value.
It's good value.
Yeah.
It'll give me something to look forward to in the fall.
I'm trying to justify a Rebel or a Core one, and I just can't. I have a whole shelf of stuff and more stuff on my table that I've just been collecting. So it's great value, but we'll see. We'll see.
Here's my suggestion, because this is a problem I know many of us are going to face. I think what the vets should do is not throw things, Matt. That's rude.
Sorry.
You shouldn't storm out in rage at my suggestion. You haven't even heard it. I think vets should make very nice, like, store armies out of their collections, and not obviously their entire collections, but like you could replicate the recon kits, and then just replace what you donated to a store with the new stuff, and kind of maybe filter in some new stuff. Again, I'm not saying wholesale, like, donate your stuff to the LGS, but like, the recon sets are going to make great starters to get people interested. Maybe just add a rebel squad here or a vehicle there, and then replace it with a new sculpt when the new sculpt comes in, and that way your stores have starter armies instead of starter recon sets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool.
That's a great
and then
idea.
you feel like you're building the community, or there are going to be people that are going to be missing this thing or that thing as reprints come out. So maybe you're helping somebody get their foot out the door, or rather in the door of Legion, while you bolster with some of the new kits. So I think there's ways to make it feel like you're contributing to the fight while getting something out of it, not just adding to a growing pile of gray back there. Matt.
Yeah, sorry. I've got more on the shelf, dude. I've got stuff I haven't even opened yet.
It's a room of shame now. It's not just a pile.
Yeah,
so.
it's getting worse. I've been thinking about it too, and I think it's probably a good idea for everyone to have a recon army, at least out of the army you're bringing, just to have something. I feel like there's going to be new players that are going to be at recon, and you might want to just have something ready to, play with them a little bit. So,
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah. I got into the game off of a skirmish league, actually. So while I enjoy the full-size game now and prefer to play that all the time, it's definitely very useful for teaching people. It's much more approachable. So
For sure.
Yeah.
It's worthwhile. Suck it up and play that recon game, teach them the game, and then you'll have the baby seal to beat for the rest of your life. All right. Well, good deal. Yeah. So if you know or don't know, LJ here is in charge of running the Legion stuff for the Las Vegas Open, and that was typically in January, but it has disappeared from the star maps. And so following the center of gravity has reappeared in October. But yeah, do you want to go ahead and fill us in what's all going on with LVO this year?
Yeah, so it's not a glitch. It's not missing from your star maps any longer. And yes, the wisdom of the child is truly magical. It has reappeared on our scopes, and the Las Vegas Open will once again be held in October 2025 this year, the 2nd through the 5th of October, that Thursday through Sunday, is what we're looking at this year. Basically, I think Frontline was ready to try something different. I think they've seen how events like Adepticon have grown and have become a little more of a spectacle and more of a, what other people would consider a convention, and not necessarily an event that just focuses on tournaments. And they thought to themselves, hey, how can we expand and make this thing bigger and better? And that led them to the World Market Center in Las Vegas. And so, Frontline running a major part of the 40K competitive world, H Sigmar competitive world, Kill Team competitive world. We're like, well, we don't want a year and like 8 months in between our flagship event. So we're just doing it live, and we're doing it twice in a year. And so they decided that they were going to move the event, and that instead of waiting until 2026, they were going to just do it again. So that led us to LVO 2025 Part 2 Electric Boogaloo, which for those of us who are familiar with the Legion community or are familiar with the tournaments in North America, has hosted one of the largest, if not the largest, Legion events every year at the Las Vegas Open. This past January, we had 160 players that participated in the GT and the LVOIS champs in a single day. It was awesome to see. So we now have a mix of your kind of standard open grand tournament that anybody can play in, and we'll be returning with the second championship for the Las Vegas Open Invitational Series, which we've talked about at length in this podcast as well. So we're kind of returning with I think a same but different product later this year. If you went or saw pictures or have heard about an LVO, this upcoming event is going to be, like I said, very similar. The open style grand tournament will feature the new 2025 stuff that AMG has shown, which we're very much looking forward to giving away. And we tried to simplify things a little bit too between the different events we like to run, and kind of stuck some things together that maybe weren't together before. So if you're somebody that is interested in what we're talking about, what we're saying here, I'm also now able to give away some of the preliminary ticketing information and some other goodies about the event. I guess my question to you guys though is what do you want to see at LVO? What do you look forward to when you talk about a big event? How can I relate the experience that you guys want to what we actually do in Vegas every year?
I personally, I'm a big stats guy.
Hmm.
So I like looking at all the lists that are submitted and seeing what other people come up with. I kind of like to get a pulse on the meta, and I really like to see how different communities across the country or even the world kind of come together and what the different metas are for, because I know UK has a different meta than, well, shoot, I even know Texas has a different meta than Oklahoma, and Florida has a different meta than Oklahoma, and so all the guys in UK and France and Germany, I love seeing international players come to these types of events and just oh, I've never thought about running, you know, three or just one swoop bike instead of three, or oh, I've never thought about putting this upgrade on this unit. I'm really interested to see how that plays out and stuff like that. So I always like going on Longshanks and just trying to okay, what's the most brought unit? What do they bring in? Oh, that's interesting. I wonder how that's going to work out and stuff like that. And of course, watching the stream and just watching super high end big brain plays that I just could never imagine making. It's yeah. I can barely make it X and one, so there's no way I could even put together 9 games of it's crazy.
I think my favorite part about big events is just getting a bunch of people who love Legion, who don't play each other very often, playing together. So that's my favorite part about big events. So, anything to facilitate getting a bunch of us together to play each other, we don't typically play, or we're not from the same area. So that's my favorite thing. So anything that gets more people in playing Legion longer. I like the idea of what they did last year, where they had the LVO Invitational, obviously, and then they had the main event for LVO as well. So it's kind of cool. There's you can get in whatever level you're at or whatever qualification you had. It was just good to see a bunch of people coming in. I think they did a good job on the stream, and I think streams are really big to generate hype for the event. Outside of people that are going, and then maybe that gets people going again. So I don't know if that answers your question, because that's not anything different than what you're doing already.
There's two words I have in my head now. One, I've got two, one from each. Randy, I want you to bring it home, and I want you to tell me something you look forward to for big events.
Technical difficulty, guys.
I muted because my cat came in and started meowing at me because the thunderstorm's going crazy around me. So, as the name of our podcast suggests, not every player will be the apex of the competitive scene when they play. I always think the side events like gonk racing I've always heard about, as well as some of that other stuff. I wish some of that can make it on a stream somehow, which I know is probably a really big lift just to get one set up for the main event. But I think that would be cool to see some of the community stuff that is happening at the event on screen. Because when you're at home, it's like you're getting a very narrow picture, which, I mean, buy the ticket and go if you can, if you want to get more than that narrow picture. But yeah, no, I think it's great. And then I don't know, people like stuff.
Well, the reason why I asked you guys this question, and I did throw that at our poor hosts here. They didn't expect the turns to table, I assume, so fast. Is that I always talk about like what I think we do well at LVO, but it's not about like the way that I see it. It's what the community wants, which is why we do this. We do it to cater to the wants and needs of the Legion community. And so I want to focus on 3 words that I thought as you guys were talking. I like the spectacle. I like the community, and that's a very broad term, and I like the variety that you're going to see by going to a large event. And not only am I here to advocate for my large event, but I want to advocate for continuing to travel and attend, events across the country and all over the world. Because when you go to a large event, we like to talk about the winners, what the top 8 lists were, and what the meta is going to be after, X or Y event. But at the end of the day, it really is about just hanging out with people that have similar interests to you and having a good time. Going out to find something fun to eat, watching somebody sing themselves silly on karaoke, having a beer with your friends, during the event. It really, like, it can't be understated that when you go and you become, somebody that attends events more frequently, you really start to see the wider community, and more than just your slice of the pie that you see at your local. And, I find that when people get exposed to that, they're always reminded that we're kind of awesome. That this Legion group that we have and that we've gained over the years, it still is like the best, if not one of the best communities out there, for any game that I have played in my entire gaming career. And I encourage people to get out and see that kind of thing, because I think there is something for everybody. There are side events like Randy was talking about. We do table and we do painting competitions at LVO, which, that can be more for the hobbyists than the person that's trying to get to the top. Maybe somebody just wants to go to a big open and see how they stack up against the field, so they just jump into the GT. Or maybe they've been grinding local LVOAS qualifiers. They finally earn their spot and they want to go see how they stack up against other people who have gone through a similar environment to get there. And I really like that LVO can provide all those types of things for people. And that is why I'm here to advocate for this event, because that is what I think we provide every year and what we're going to continue to do twice in a year now. Hopefully for only 2025, because I can only take so much Frontline. And so how are we going to do that? When tickets go live mid-May, or I think this week if you're a high roller person, if you bought into their high roller program in the past, Frontline does release tickets to their events a little early. That doesn't tend to hit our crowd as much, but there may be onesie twosies that came over from 40K or something that maybe are part of their high roller program. But regardless, when tickets do go up on sale, which, like I said, should be the 2nd or 3rd week of May, there's only going to be 2 tickets that you're going to have to care about. There's going to be a GT ticket. As you can probably guess, it gets you access to the GT. But because we want people to buy tickets playing Legion for 3 days, it also gets you access to doubles this time. You're paying the same price that you did in January, but you get all 3 days included. Day 1 of the GT, day 2 of the GT, and doubles on Sunday, all in one ticket.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Just like they have in the past, there is also a package ticket that will include the badge that you need to be at the LVO, because you do have a convention badge that you purchase to be there throughout the weekend. And there also will be some sort of swag that's attached to it. They've done pint glasses, they've done t-shirts, they've done other fun things like that. So you can either just buy the standard ticket, or you can buy the ticket that includes the badge and the swag. I always recommend that one. They also usually have a special line for the people that buy that one, so you get in and get out a little bit quicker when you go to pick up your badge, which I do highly recommend. If you are somebody that has qualified for the Las Vegas Open Invitational Series Championship and you want to buy that ticket instead, that ticket will work the same. It will include scrambles on Friday, automatically included, Saturday, day 1 of the LVOIS Champs, and Sunday, day 2 of the LVOIS Champs. So either way, you're paying one flat price for 3 days of Legion, regardless of what you buy. And that's it. That's all we're doing this year. Very simple, very straightforward, but also it's still made up of the same components that we did in January and that we've done in the past and that people have really liked. So we wanted to try to, like I said, stick to something familiar. But how are we varying it up? I hear you say in the background there, what is different, because we have the opportunity to do 2 of those in 1 year. So one of the big feedback points that I got was that, people are not as down with 4-round days as they used to be. But also that some people still want that, experience where you get a lot of games. So what the compromise we're going to do for this upcoming LVO is that the GT is set at 6 games. So the GT is set at 6 games. 3 games on Friday, 3 games on Saturday, split across both days instead of doing one day more than the other day. And that's to allow for us to bring back some sort of social event on Friday night.
Nice.
Because people really missed that. That was a big point of feedback that I got after this last LVO, and that goes right back into one of those 3 points, community. And so what we wanted to do was, okay, we're still going to include that final game that's needed if we get into that 128 player bracket again. So what we're going to do is everybody in the GT will play 6 rounds of Swiss. If we need one more game to determine a final winner, because we know we want a final winner at these things, then they will play as soon as Sunday starts. So there'll be one final 7th round just for the top 2 on Sunday, if needed, and that's already in the packet. So you know the expectation when you buy the ticket. Which, by the way, all the packets are done and they'll be there. I'll probably post them before tickets even go on sale, so people know what they're getting before they buy tickets.
Awesome.
Go have your fun Friday night, not Saturday night.
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing.
If you're in that top 2. Now, if you're not in that top 2, again, you're automatically grandfathered into Sunday. Everybody that buys a GT ticket automatically gets a doubles ticket. The doubles ticket is just for one person instead of being for 2 people like it was in the past. But that's because everybody just gets it as part of the GT ticket. And again, Frontline did not raise the total ticket price from what it was last LVO to accommodate for that. They just gave it to everybody for free, which was
awesome.
Super cool of them. And so then you'll play 2 more rounds of doubles on Sunday. And so you'll be able to, build a recon size list with your buddy. And you both bring your recon lists and you throw, over 1,000 points of Legion on the table and have a good time beating up another pair of friends across the table from you. So that'll be, like I said, 2 rounds for that. And that helps make sure everybody gets out on time from the hall and whatnot, because we don't go as long on Sunday day.
Yeah.
And if you're in that other group that I was talking about, if you're in that LVOIS Champs and you're in that group of 64, that I think we'll probably have 64 again this year, you will be able to join us on Friday for scrambles. We did scrambles this last January. They were wildly successful, I thought. Basically, you show up to the desk. The first 8 people to show up and say, I'm here for scrambles, get put in a pod, and you have space for 3 rounds to play and do whatever you want. So you basically have a time and a chunk of tables where those 8 people can play a little mini tournament if they want. They can settle a grudge between 2 communities which I think you guys might be interested in. And several people did take advantage of last LVO. Or it could just be a chance to, get a couple reps in. Maybe you want to do turn 0 over and over and over again. Or maybe you want to engineer a scenario and play it against somebody that is also, competitively minded, and they also want to maybe war game with you a little bit. And so, we also did that because the main event is on Saturday and Sunday. If you want to get in a little later on Friday and you just want to cruise in and look at the LVO and go hang out in Vegas, then you can also go do that. And you don't have to feel like you're missing out on anything.
Yeah.
So we wanted to do that again because, like I said, I thought it was really successful. And then that leads to Saturday, where we've got round 1 through 4 of the LVOIS champs. Now, you may be saying, wait a sec, didn't you just say something about people not liking 4-round days? Why, yes. Yes, I did. And that is because there's a magical invention that LVO has been pioneering for years that we have used at pretty much every single LVO for the past 4 LVOs. Gentlemen, it's called a chess clock. The 64 the LVOIS champs will be using chess clocks this year.
Wow.
All 64.
Wow. Okay.
And what that allowed me to do, and one of the reasons why I decided to make that decision, was really, there was 2 big reasons. The first reason was when we did it for the top 4 at LVO in January, the people that played on clocks between the 2 players had 20 minutes, 40 minutes, and an hour left on the clocks in the 3 games that were clocked.
Wow.
And because the clocks were set to 75 minutes, which is exactly 2.5 hours, that means they don't have the 15-minute overtime. So that's an additional 15 minutes on top of those time savings that you are getting back as an organizer. So then I put it on a schedule, and I was like, okay, so what does this actually look like if we decide to execute like an event with chess clocks? And I put it on a schedule, and I realized, okay, my 3-round GT running the current, GC schedule is getting out at 7 p.m. My 4-round LVOIS champs is getting out at 8 p.m. It is a whole game, and it is getting out an hour later. Yeah, I think I'll give this a try.
Yeah.
And even if it's something that people decide that like we do, and the field doesn't like having that many chess clocks in the field, great. This is an opportunity for us to practice before we do, what I assume will be a much larger LVO in 2026. But we've kind of got this canvas to go try it out, and I think we're going to do it, and I'm excited to see what happens. So
I love it. I'm so
fantastic.
glad you're doing that.
Yeah.
With X and 1 stamp of approval
Yeah.
for the chess clocks.
I
So,
think you'll have
yeah.
a lot of success too with the people that are going to be in the LVOIS. They probably have had some experience with chess clocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it'll go over pretty well.
I think you're doing it at the right time too, with it being the top 64 players. Like Matt was saying, most of those guys or girls should have experience with chess clocks. And I really hope that a lot of other tournaments around the country take this model that you're about to lay out and really apply it to maybe not this year, but next year. As far as maybe not the top 64, but at least the top 8. Like, I think it's something that needs to be addressed, and it's not an issue that a lot of people like to talk about. But yeah, I think that's a great step.
Now I will tell you, our schedule is what I would call aggressive. Now I'm really proud of like what we run at LVO, because we are always either, on time or like 5 minutes under time from what it says in the packet. That's something we've always been super proud of. And so the standard adage was 75 minutes per player in the chess clock rules that are actually on the LVOIS champs or LVOIS website that we've been using for the last couple of years. We're going to try 65-minute per player times. So it'll be a little bit more aggressive. And again, what the data we're seeing is that if we would have cut that 20 minutes from the games, all of the games that we clocked at this last LVO still would have finished with time on the clock. So we're going to try it, and we're going to see if the more aggressive, meets our intent. It's something that there is a little bit of overtime built into the schedule to score around and generate new pairings that if we need, we can actually co-opt that time and put it back on the clock if we feel like, hey, we've done this for a round, it's not meeting the intent. Everybody gets 5 more minutes next round, and we see if maybe 70 minutes is the solution instead of 65 minutes. So it's going to be a bit of a test, but I think we're ready for it, and I think this will be a good environment to test it in.
There's a decent amount of time where the clock is paused anyway, where it's nobody's turn, where you pause the clock between rounds and stuff like that. So I think that's probably about right anyway.
Yeah,
as far as
and I think that's kind of what that 10-minute buffer that's built in the schedule is meant to account for. It's meant to account for you walking up to your table. It's meant to account for that dead time. And like I said, we'll see how it feels, but we're really excited to try this, and Frontline was really excited to support it.
Awesome.
I think it also makes a lot of sense at LVO too, because I think an event that big, people have practiced these lists a lot. They know what their turn ones are going to look like. They played against these different matchups quite a bit, so I think you do run into less people that are just vacillating on little things. So if it don't work there, I'm not sure where it will work. So I'm glad you're doing it.
But yeah, so it'll be, to go back to where it was, 4 rounds on Saturday, 2 rounds on Sunday, which will get us out of there around 3 o'clock or so. If we do have a larger GT crowd, like I hope we will, like we did back in January, that means Sunday, the first round of the day, would be the streamed final for the GT, and the second round of the day would be the streamed final for the LVOIS champs, which I think would be pretty cool.
That's awesome
to watch on stream. And so yeah, so that's kind of, like I said, that's the variety of events that we're bringing. That's the spectacle we're trying to put on, and I mean, we've already talked a lot about the community and why it's awesome. So just to round out what the plan is, we will see tickets go up. Like I said, second or third week of May is what Frontline is telling me. They usually go on anywhere between 10 or 11 Pacific time on the day that they go out on. If you watch the LVO channel in the Legion Discord, you'll be able to see all the newest updates and venue information and exactly when the tickets are going to go on sale when we get an exact day, and all the other good stuff we have planned. I just posted the room block because the Golden Nugget put up a room block for Frontline specifically today. And it saves you like $30 to $40 a day, which if you stay for 3 or 4 days, you're talking $160, which that's a day right there. So I think that's solid. It's better than nothing, I would say. Mm-hmm. And I'm interested to see how people react to that change of a venue, because it is going to feel different, but also it's probably going to feel like exactly what I just did in Milwaukee at DevsCon, so it's not really that different. It's just different for an LVO, and if you've only been to LVO, like, I get it, how your expectations is going to be different. We also are very excited to bring a hotly requested item back, territory markers. Everybody gave me crap for not having LVO branded territory markers at the last one, so we had top men working on that to make that a high priority and bring that to the people. So everybody that attends either the GT or the champs gets 6 of them just for attending. As part of our participation prize for everybody. The GT is obviously going to have the GT kit, which we've already talked about, and those prizes that are part of that. And we'll have, I'm sure, lots of returning sponsors. Jerry's Game Shop, I'm sure, is going to be a huge part of the LVOIS and the event as a whole. He's been cooking on some stuff that we were going to debut for the next LVOIS season that we're holding on to now. And maybe LVO will be an opportunity once again to show off a whole new wave of swag that'll be part of the next season's tournament kits like we did in January. So that'll be awesome. We'll have I see Randy has some of his trophies in the background there. We will definitely have those as per usual. There's also a really cool trophy that the Northern California community does. It's a hand holding a lightsaber. And if you haven't seen one of these, they're super dope. We're talking to those guys about getting some of them for the event this year. And who knows what other random sponsors may pop up, X&1. Who knows who else may sponsor. So, we're going to have stuff like we always do. We're going to try to do it big as we can. I'm trying to be realistic. I know that we're not going to have as many people It's hard for people to make 2 LVOs in a year, or big events, or other things, or just plans. So I get it. Don't worry, people. I don't take it personally if this event isn't as big as the last one. 180 people signed up between the 2 events. 160 people in one day was awesome, and I'm still going to revel in that glory for a long time. For the people that are able to attend, what I think this event is going to be is, I think it's going to be us having a good time, hanging out, playing Legion. And I think for a lot of communities out there, if you, what I saw, especially back in January, this last LVO, is I saw like one dude that signed up for the champs because he went to an LVOAS event and he earned his spot. And that made 2 other people want to sign up for the GT because they wanted to support their buddy. And suddenly, you had 20 people from Arizona wearing the same blue jersey that all represented their community, because that onesie twosie trickled to now entire communities wanting to join. And we were talking about this before the cast started. We're seeing people ask, how do I play on Reddit every day? We're seeing new people jump into the Legion Discord every day. I'm getting new questions that are actually old questions, but are new questions because a new crop of people are coming into the game, and they're learning these lessons now that we've had the full release out there. LVO happens after the new recon sets are supposed to drop. So you're probably going to have some people that are like, oh, I've played in tournaments before. I've got my recon stuff, and I bought my 1 or 2, 3, 4 expansions to build this into a Legion list I feel comfortable bringing to a tournament. Bring them to LVO, because that GT has always been a wonderful and accepting place for people to get their first big, tournament in. And hey, there's nothing like learning through 6 rounds of playing the same list over 2 days.
Mhm.
You really learn a game, you learn a community, and you learn why we're the best. So
Yeah.
I hope that community leaders out there that might be listening to this really can take that as a call to action to maybe kind of pre-plan. Hey, here's how we can get some new people to join us. And yeah, maybe our delegation is only 5 people this year instead of 20. But if that 5 becomes 10, and I now have 5 new people that are introduced to the LVO that had never been, that's going to turn into long-term success for me when I start planning for LVO 2026. So I'm excited. I think it'll be an interesting one, even if it ends up not being as big as the previous one.
For sure. And man, once you go to that big event, you start getting hooked on going to
Mhm.
bigger events, man. It's just they hit different. Yeah. Also, sometimes you just run into weird people. Like, we have a younger guy in our community, and he had no idea there was like no one else who played Legion in Oklahoma, and he met our community at a Texas tournament because he went to
LSO.
Texas to play. Yeah, at
Yeah.
LSO, and it's like, oh yeah, do you see the 20 black shirts? They're all from Oklahoma.
Welcome, my son. You
Yeah.
can come,
Right, yeah.
you can
I
come
just don't
play
know
with
how
us.
you do that, but he did it.
Yeah. But yeah, so middle of May, those tickets should be going up. Buy your LVO ticket, get out there, drag your best friend, your worst enemy, whoever you like to play games with, I guess. And yeah,
Yeah, make sure you
sounds
stay
awesome.
tuned to the Las Vegas Open Invitational Series website for all your updates, what qualifying tournaments are in your area to get you into that qualifier. Make sure you keep track of your points. I know the qualifier has gotten condensed to where you can have 2 qualifying tournaments at the same location every 2, or I'm sorry, you can have a qualifying tournament, same location every 2 months now instead of 3. Yeah,
Got it in one.
I was about to say,
No,
you should probably
I don't know
just
where I
ask
was
him.
going with
Like,
it.
why are you guessing?
No, I do.
No,
So yes,
I appreciate the replug a lot, because I think we're at basically the exact same point we were at last year. In 7 months, we had 122 events on the schedule. It has been 3 months since the season formally started, and we have 70 events on the schedule. Getting close to 80, I think, right now. So we're doing pretty good. And granted, I assume there's not going to be a deluge. It's going to be more of a trickle to get to that number again because people have done their long-term planning. We have more events throughout the rest of the season instead of events just being added as they were thought of. But like you pointed out, the rule was you couldn't run an event at the same location within a 90-day span. Now it's 60 days to help more events get in there. And yeah, if you heard me talk about the champs a bunch and we're like, what the heck is that guy talking about? Basically, we have a website called the LVOIS where you can have your store tournaments count as qualifiers, where the winner gets an automatic invite to a championship at the LVO, and the top 8 get points that help me fill out the last couple of qualifiers and get us to hopefully again an even 64. Eventually, we're going to shoot for 128, but for now, I think this one's going to be another 64, which was so cool to see this last year, and yeah, and basically participate in an invite only event. If that's not your jam, then like I said, the GT is great. If you don't qualify for the LVOS champs, but you're going to the GT, the top undefeated players will help filter us to get us to exactly 64 for the champs the next day. So there is actually a last chance qualifier at the LVO. Set your alarms for it now, so you don't forget.
Randy's on the board. Randy's got points, by the way. Randy's got
There's flash
LVOIS.
flooding in the
what?
area.
Yeah, you can see the events that are official, quote unquote, on the LVOIS website, and see what events have already been submitted and what events have submitted their stuff. And then there's a tab that says player points list that you can click on, and it'll take you to an Excel document where you can look at all the results that have been submitted and who has points. And who like the top performers are. So I know this guy should be familiar. Daniel Castellassi is currently sitting at number 2 overall from the Texas community. But also Colton Evans is number 3 on the list,
Hey.
who has
What a
Dust Bowl
degenerate.
battles, Dust Bowl battles, Dust Bowl battles. So he's just rocking the locals, it sounds
Gosh.
like, over there.
Well, we had a 28-man local,
Yeah.
and it worked out because
It's 28.
the guy who won the
Yeah.
local is one of our diehard LVO guys. He goes every year, so he
Yeah.
won. So perfect.
Nice.
So it's a good deal. But yeah,
Yeah,
Colton's a local terror. So the other half of Average Jerry Game Shop.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's good. So it's really fun. I love having the LVOIS. It's a nice little addition to all the events.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's neat.
Awesome. Well, great. I'm excited. Yeah. You'll just have FOMO if you don't go. Trust me. It's bad.
And we make sure to take lots of pictures to build the FOMO.
I don't know. This is one of those things where you end up like getting volunteered to help out, but a sabbak night for the community night? Huh?
So
Vegas gambling?
when the tickets go on sale, my intent is not to have to be the one that runs the community night. I will help facilitate things. I will help make sure stuff happens. But if there is a group, a podcast, a blog, a community, or just somebody real cool that has an idea and they think, hey, this would be a great place to host something at, we can do it. It doesn't have to be super formal. We can do something ad hoc and have a little bit of fun. I'm always open to those kind of ideas, and hosting some sort of card tournament in Vegas is just too perfect. So I ain't complaining.
I know Zane's a big fan of karaoke night, and sounds like he killed it last year. So, or in January. So,
Right on. Well, cool. Yeah, let's dive into some units. You guys are good with that. Yeah, so the new Legion is here. It is upon us. We're living in it, and there was quite a few units that got like not big changes, but they got the finishing 2.6 touch-ups, and there were a few that got their shine. Lando's way different now, And then there's pour one out for the fallen. Our beloved Palpatine and IRG. And, our Pathfinders have been demoted to Rebel Grunts. But yeah, I thought we could go around and maybe point out like our favorite of since 2.6 comes out, and one that we're hoping will still get some love to come. And that can be whether you think they need changes on keywords or rules or points, or maybe just changes to the game around them, like the meta you think could help them out, kind of thing. I don't know. I feel
Go ahead, Randy. Take it. Take
Okay.
You
it.
talk first.
Go
You talk
do it.
first.
Okay.
Do
I'll
it,
go.
Randy. We
right.
know. We just go ahead. I'll say it right now. Shadow Collective got the love. They got the 2.6 update or whatever. Legion -0.
I was so excited about that.
Black Suns aren't
that I feel
unplayable
like it was just a
anymore.
bit of I love that the Black Suns got the melee profile to their heavies. It was really sad when it was like my best counter, or people were just like, I'm going to shoot them and then I'll just move into melee, and I've half their dice pool. The dice pool was still red, but I'd rather roll 6 defenses than 10 to 12 defense dice. And then also the Mandalorians, Rook, her gun now also works in melee, the Gunslinger as well, so diving them into melee doesn't feel like a bad idea as well. But I really like the area terrain changes. I've gotten to play with that, and it really feels like it gives the game a more guerrilla element to it. Sure, you could always come around a building, but there's just something about having like this little forest or shrubs in front of you, and they can't see you, and then you can just bust into it and get your shot off. Next round, take your shot and move back behind that area terrain. I think that really is helpful for maybe Wookiees that are trying to get up the board. Shout out to Kashik Chat.
Yeah, Kashyyyk Chat. Yes. No, any kind of line of sight is great. Wookiees love any kind of line of sight blocker. So,
and I think for the range 2 units that don't have the built-in scout, recon's a little more expensive. It gives them a little bit more to play around with. And yes, you could do that with buildings, but a lot of times it's a lot more going around. Being able to just go right through the middle of something full speed, super neat, and I think it helps them out. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on those? Do you agree, disagree that they're
Full
doing
send on
better?
the area terrain stuff.
Yeah,
Especially
100%.
as somebody that had to put together 96 tables back in January.
mhm.
This suddenly makes tables a little fuller again
Mhm.
by
Yes.
functionally doing nothing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
a huge win, because it's a lot easier to slap down something that even just represents area terrain,
Mhm.
that functionally acts as a building, without having to go through all the effort to make said building.
Yeah.
And I know, like, it is very easy to make building-like objects in the age of 3D printing, but when you have to do it at scale, oh my god, there's so much that got easier in my immediate future for putting together Legion tables. So I know that, like, there were a couple question marks at first. Maybe people weren't so sure about it, but that was one of those changes that, like, once people started playing with it, I was super jazzed to hear what the results were. And so the fact that that was one of yours right off the bat, that's
Yeah.
what I like.
Also,
Yeah.
E-gear stocks up. E-gear stocks up. If
Yeah.
with all this area
Yeah.
terrain now.
2 points. They're probably going to go
Yeah.
up to 5 now. Yeah.
Wow.
I just.
Don't you put that evil on me,
Why'd you
Mitchell.
say
Hey, we got
that?
till November. We got till November.
And the monkey's paw curl.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm just excited to actually use definitions that are in the CRB, like having things to point back to, like, okay, this is going to be obstacle terrain, this is area terrain, this is open terrain. It's always good to have these words that are actually defined in the rulebook that you can fall back on, that you can show new players, like, this is what this means. It's not some obscure thing we have to go hunt down 10 different forums for. So, like, as far as like a simplistic teaching way, I agree with you wholeheartedly. and I've not built 96 tables, LJ, but I've
Hey,
built.
he's almost to 1.
Okay, I put together a few tables in my TO times, and yes, I am a fan of having fuller tables that you can tell a story with. And I think having more different types of terrain on the table to give the players more options when deciding what terrain will be on the table for that game is always good. So
Yeah. Cool. I love it.
And that's why I think Black Suns and Maldalorns are better. So my 0, my guy I think that needs help. I really want some love for Cad Bane, and I really think it's going to be missions eventually that help him out. You could change his kit. I don't know if I'd actually want his kit to be changed that much though. I just think more varying missions. Perhaps we'll see the return of boxes. I mean, Shatterpoint kind of did something similar. Their first set of missions was very much you play around points. So I'm hoping to see that evolution in Legion 2 where they bring back other objectives that could possibly move more. They're doing a lot of interesting things in the secondaries. I could see more stuff happening there. Like I would love to see Cad be like a secondary fiend. That'd be really neat.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And there's
Cad
value
Bane.
there too. Like if he was like really good at this thing that's worth maybe like 2-3 points a game, that'd be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Well, and he's got bounty, right?
Yeah.
So there's that extra point there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
for sure.
I don't know. He's not as killy as some of the other big guys. So giving him more objectives to have objective play on, I think will be what brings him back. But
I think with CAD, what I would have loved to see personally was they've done a lot of folding the extra weapon upgrades into the base card. I would have liked to see the gauntlets go on his base card.
Yeah.
I think maybe you could have split the difference between the 10 points it's worth now and just raised his kit by 5, but made it part of the base kit, kind of like they did with Iden a little bit, where she got a bit of a points increase, but some of that was the sniper just being added to her kit permanently. I think that would have maybe brought him in line a little bit more with some of these, let's call them aggressively priced mid-level characters, like Lando and Callus and Jin that we're seeing in this update.
Yeah,
I think that would have been
cool. For sure.
And if they went that route, do you think it's okay to not be a tappable anymore?
I think you make it so you always get the reds, but maybe the tappable is the immobilize effect. So he'll always get the punching real good all the time, but maybe he's not immobilizing 3 with every single time he punches.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe. That's maybe how I would personally play with it.
Yeah. It might be okay because he doesn't want to be in melee.
Yeah. It would be nice if there was like a generic mercenary upgrade, because they all have flamethrowers. And Cad doesn't have an ability to get a flamethrower. I mean, he uses one. Din uses one. Boba uses one. I mean, they've all used one canonically.
He held a lightsaber for like 2 seconds.
Okay.
You have to draw a line somewhere.
Yeah, I know they just fought for us to get a Spider Leg T-Series Super Tax. So, but I don't know, maybe something like that to help him out, give him a little bit more of a punch at that range 1, range 2. Use that steady with a flamethrower would be really nice. But yeah, I think you're right, Randy. It's going to come down to missions, and I think a lot of the units we're going to talk about are going to be mission specific, or they're going to need different types of missions to make the unit good. So, yeah.
Good picks.
Yeah. That's my generic easy. While I'm just talking, I'll go ahead and go into mine. I think my heroes for this are Mandalorian Resistance guys. Being able to be speed 3, surging red, and using their pistols in melee now. Also getting access to the combat shield to give them a little bit more defense. They have nimble built in, which is super nice. So having a really super speedy defensive unit that's relatively cheap at 68 points, I think really helps out them. I think, especially in our local community, they've been seeing a lot more play just because they're a lot faster and stuff like that. My
Do you
zeros.
still feel like their main problem is just Sleeper's existence?
Yeah, I mean yeah. Honestly, and it's kind of hard to say that they won when they have to compete with a slot with sleepers, but I think you could say that for any other unit in the special forces slot in Rebels right now, because I could say too that Rebel commando strike teams, I mean, they got touched almost a year ago, but again, it's because sleeper cell is in the same slot. And honestly, I think Rebel commandos too, they're not bad. It's just sleeper cells are just so good. They're just so good. And they're 2 points more than a full squad of Rebel commandos. So, oh no, I'm sorry. They're 48 points. So, they got to take the heavy, but so I don't know. Yeah. So it's kind of hard to say, but I think there's a little bit more. So, mhm.
Yeah.
I think my zeros are, I think just speeders in general. I was gonna just say the bark.
That was mine. Dang.
But
I
sorry,
gotta think of one now.
I was gonna say barks, but I was just like, well, I'll just stick barks. And again, I think this kind of falls in the same category too. Like they're in the same slot as the rebel as clone commandos and ATRTs, and both those units add a lot more value. I don't know what you do to barks to make them competitive against bringing, besides the fact that they're cheaper than bringing a unit of commandos and they're more expensive than an ATRT, which is just wild. But yeah, I don't know. It just seems like they serve, like there was a very distinct purpose they served in Legacy Legion, and that they were a fantastic fire sport platform. And now that that's gone, I think they're still having trouble finding what their purpose is in this new edition. Um, they move really quickly. They also die really quickly. So I don't know. They're just kind of in a weird spot, and there's just better units to take at the moment right now. So
I think I'd like to see maybe just a little defensive bump for them because playing swoops, honestly, having that independent dodge, it helps.
well, having 6 wounds too across 2 models. I know it's like because like Barks have 5, so it's only adding 1 more wound, but I think having 2 models helps in a way. I don't know why that makes sense. But yeah, I think having some sort of, I mean, the cover one is nice, but I mean, just give them armor 1 or something. Like slap that on there. Like I don't know. It just seems like they need something else to make them. And maybe the mobile commander stuff is going to change that with all the new
It
vehicles
could be
coming out.
points too. Honestly, I don't think. I think if you lowered points, it probably would help. Because I mean, speeder bikes for Empire are 80 points.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of points. So especially in something like Blizzard, because I've been looking at stuff like that. It's like the EWEB 60, I think, around 60, and then the speeder bikes are 80, and like you can take up to 4 of them. But do you want to spend 320 points on speeder bikes in a list?
It
I
would
mean,
be really nice if there's like a generic upgrade you could take that you could slap on speeders or vehicles that make them worth 2 unit commanders when contesting a point.
mm, that's
So you
interesting.
could send them like, oh, you have 1 unit just contesting your home objective. I'm gonna triple move my speeder back there, and like, oh, that's mine now. I don't know, just something you can slap on there for a few points to make them just be like, I could send this guy on either side of the table. I think that would make, especially for clones, that would make like recover the research a lot more viable. That would make shifting objectives a lot more viable, where you have to spread out. You can just send this 2-unit squad. Now, granted, they would get targeted a lot harder too, but I think it would still be, if you could hide them effectively, you could use them to that advantage.
So when we had the original 2.6, all the speeders went up, right? Pretty much. I think Bark went up 10 points. I think.
Yeah.
So they saw something. I'm not sure. There's got to be some. Maybe it's because the ease of their ability to contest back points. Maybe that'd be my guess. But yeah, I don't know. I think it hurt.
Well, they were all the rage when the 2.6 came out. I mean, I remember getting rocked by like quadruple speeders and Blizzard all the time, just like because they could just go and contest every single point, and they're really, it just seemed easy. But now that everyone's kind of settled into like, this is the rhythm of the game now, speeders just haven't fit into that anymore. So, but yeah, you're right. They did see something, but I don't know.
So, okay. Well,
it might be another thing where more objectives will help them out
I
as
think
well.
so too.
Because they are good at recover because you just have to contest, right? Even if you're hiding your bikes and sacrificing one every round to make sure you're scoring 4 POIs instead of 3.
Yeah. And again, bombing run,
maybe just 5 or 10 points lower.
Yeah.
That's becomes worth it to you all of a sudden. So
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe that's it. But also, while we're talking about speeder bikes, and I love my swoops, I want to change to reinforcements. Like the speed one at the end is just I don't get it. Because like you're not scoring anything round 1 based on the placement. You're not like leaving your guy exposed. And it's like, oh, I'm going to use the speed 1 to get behind cover. Like, because I got shot before then, and I'm not going to use it to get out of cover to start the round. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool if it just worked out used to. Just let me bring them on at the end.
Swoops are in a pretty good spot, though. I feel like relative to the other speeders.
They're in a better spot than the other. But
yeah, just because I think
the
you're right.
Aim dodge goes a long way.
Yeah. But, okay, I'll go. For my hero, I am picking the clone infantry, specifically because of stuff like Ahsoka. I think that is you could go all the way up to Ahsoka shotgun super squad. I mean, it can get pretty bonkers. So, I'm seeing the vision now. They've talked in the past about how customizable clone infantry would be and how clones would be. And I didn't really think about it that much, but now that they're kind of starting to fill that out, like I'm seeing the vision, and that is cool. And I'm seeing the utility in having like the named character as a squad leader, maybe, where they aren't necessarily having the full hero treatment. But an Ahsoka shotgun super squad charging you is legitimately terrifying. And
I love that look, because like if that's what the clone army of the future looks like, now you're recreating like Attack of the Clones Geonosis with the wave of white Phase 1 clone troopers and the Jedi lightsaber here, lightsaber there. Like if that's what the clone army looks like long term, like that's thematically that's going to look so good on the table.
For sure.
So I say bring more of those on for sure.
I love it. I'm loving it. And Ahsoka herself seems very potent within the clone squad. So
I would love to see them do that to Obi and Anakin. Maybe not Yoda, but if you could stick Obi and Anakin, like a nerfed version of them in a squad, I think that would be great. I mean,
I think you could do something like you did the Jedi Council too. You could just throw.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that with the generic Jedi as well. I mean, we kind of already had that with the Jedi Guardian, but I mean, give Obi-Wan kind of the Boyle treatment where he gets the whole unit gets Guardian, maybe Guardian 2 or something like that. Maybe give the unit block or deflect or something and charge and stuff like that. Yeah, I think like LJ was saying, have a whole squad of Jedi-led Phase 1s behind you. Yeah, I think that would be sick.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
You stole my 0, so I'm gonna go back to old reliable. My poor melee Wookiees.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
They need a little love. I don't think they're necessarily bad, and I play them in Wookiee Defenders, which I think is probably one of the best use cases for them. I don't think there's a real reason to take Wookiee, the noble fighters, the melee Wookiees, in a generic clone army because arcs are right there. And then sometimes when I'm playing Wookiee Defenders and I have my single arc unit, it does feel, quite strong in my list. So it makes me a little sad. I don't know. It probably could just be points, honestly, just maybe a couple points down. It doesn't have to be a lot. And then I think that would maybe, because it's a little tight doing some Wookiee builds. You've seen us in Kashyyyk chat. We're really just, it's not a ton of changes necessarily in our list we're posting as far as like, oh, I dropped a battle shield here. Oh, I dropped tenacity here. It's like, oh, I put an impact grenade on this one. It's, stuff like that. So maybe a little more points to play with would be nice. So
Yeah, I agree. I think just a little points drop on some of them, just so you can take another upgrade or two. I think.
Yeah,
would be
you got to be
nice.
careful though, because
Mhm.
I'm not here to be the Wookiee bad guy. Because I agree, they do need something. However, they are 3 wounds a model, so
Yeah.
there's a very fine line where you have to judge that very carefully because
Yeah.
you're talking about a 4 wound arc squad base versus a 9 wound base Wookiee squad that could get up to 12, and an arc can get up to 5. Now, granted, it's white, just white dice versus surging red.
Yeah.
So there's quite a difference there, but there's a fine line. But yeah, I think they need to be at least cheaper than arcs. I think,
I don't know if cheaper. I don't know if they'll go that far, but close, right? Because
or as cheap.
a base arc is 64 points. A base Wookiee melee is 69 points.
Yeah.
And I don't think people are arguing that base melee is stronger than the arc for sure. So, because effectively the wounds are about the same because you have a red save versus a non-surging white save.
Sure.
So I'd say they're comparable health.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you can get a battle roll that would blow it for the clones, but the clones hit harder because they have another unit shooting. It's just probably a little bit better. Which I'm not saying nerf arcs, which I feel like that's probably everyone's takeaway. They're like, yeah, nerf arcs, but hopefully not. But hopefully little Wookiee love.
Little Wookiee love.
Yeah.
All right, you want me to land this ship?
Yep.
Yeah.
Drop some knowledge.
So I'm going to focus on droids because they're my boys, and it's, of course, what I've been playing lately. And I'm going to speak lovingly for a moment about my boy General Grievous. Because, guys, I love playing Grievous these days. I feel like if I brought Grievous and he did nothing, I felt bad about it. Because he was a lot more points. But at the 130 he's at now, he doesn't have to really do much for me to feel like he's brought value to the table. And so I have been loving this guy since 2.6 drops. I mean, right when it dropped, for me, it was all about, okay, how do I manipulate and use Entourage Magnas? Do I go for the quad Magna list? Maybe. Did I run a quad Magna whip list? Maybe. But once I really started playing him and I started running him with 2 guards flanking him, all his cards support that really well, and just order wise it ended up working out really well. I really, really like where Grievous is at currently. He got that treatment we were talking about with Cad, where his Annihilator was put into his kit, which is great. He went full immune pierce instead of being at a half measure. He retained all of his good keywords: Jedi Hunter, Relentless, and he still has block at the end of the day too. Which really you only need 1 or 2 dodges on him a game for those situations where he really needs to save. And man, it can just be so frustrating for somebody to he 1v1 Mando for me the other day because Mando's dice pool is really tight and really good, and it has Pierce on it, but if it's going into something that can just suddenly say, nah, never mind, your Pierce doesn't matter, man, can Mando feel bad. And Grievous just slapped him down over the course of 2 turns. It was awesome. So I think that he's in a much better place now. And while he's not, there's so much good stuff you could talk about in droids. I think from where he once was to where he is now, he got the biggest glow up in 2.6. I did
For sure.
also have to save a special shout out as well after playing AJ's List from Worlds for a while for the AAT. I felt like I was hitting a wall every time I played the AAT before 2.6, and I think cover changes are a big reason why the AAT now feels awesome. Because suddenly that combined pool of 7 dice, you're getting, potentially nothing blocked from cover now, and more dice are making it through to the squad you're trying to hit. I think Barrage is also awesome with the way that the tank works now. The artillery cannon is still a fantastic weapon, and throwing 8 red dice with impact 2 and crit 1 against a vehicle is a vehicle shredder. And I like I said, I've been having so much fun with AJ's double ATST List from Worlds. I ran that locally and have terrorized a couple people with it. And I mean, I'm probably going to just keep running it at locals for a while because it speaks to me, and 2 AATs on the table look really good.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So those are my personal winners. Again, like droids as a whole, I think you could just put on the hero list because they something just clicked, when the edition changed over. But I will tell you who they did not click for, and we will unfortunately return to speeders because staps are sitting at the bottom of the pile for me. And it makes me really sad because a friend painted my staps for me, and they look awesome. And I have not put them on the table since my friend painted them.
There's just no save. There's no save. This is
Right.
nothing. No defense for those.
And it's when you look at the support slots on droids, 50 points for a DSD, yes, without weapon, but 50, 60 for Deca, 70 for Crab, 80 for Staps. I know you get everything you need in that base kit. You don't need to equip any other weapons or AIs or anything, but they probably should not at base be the most expensive out of the 4. So I think they're like B1s. They're Meals on Wheels B1s. They're never going to beat these crazy tanks. So just make that their identity. Bring them down to something crazy in like the 60s or something.
Yeah.
And have them zip zappity zip in and get blasted. But like with Grievous going down in points and me feeling better if he doesn't do as much, a Stap squad being, 15, 20 points less and doing a lot less feels a lot less worse. And then over time, the game will catch up and there will be objectives that are more friendly to Staps. And then that will do the rest of the work without you having to do like sweeping changes to the units. I think in the short term, it's points. In the long term, it'll be objectives, secondaries, etc.
Yeah, I agree.
Sure. I didn't know they were the most expensive.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I'm looking at it right now. I did not
and
realize
again,
that.
it's not like a 100% fair comparison because the crab droids and dwarf spiders, you kind of want to put weapons on them, but at their base cost, they're the most expensive.
That's wild.
So, and droidicas, I feel like were mostly fixed from cover changes, and then their cost went down.
Yes, the cost was a big one. And then cover definitely because less of that dice pool just automatically bounces off cover now. There's actually several things in the droid arsenal that I feel like meet that category. If I was going to pick a specific upgrade in the droid army, it would be the rad cannon for me for the B1s because the engagements are tighter and those 2 red dice don't just automatically bounce off cover now. So, I think like there are several case studies within the droid army that suddenly got better because of like the cover changes and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
poison tokens are nasty.
And poison tokens are nasty.
Poison tokens are nasty.
I love them. Yeah. Get 1 wound on that, red surging save arc squad, and another guy's gonna die.
Oh.
It's awesome. Every droid list I build in 2.6 starts with 6 rad cannon B1s.
Oh god.
And that's the other reason why I started playing AJ's list because it doesn't use them, and I wanted to change. But that's almost every list I played in 2.6 starts with 6 rad cannon B1s because they are addictive.
A menace to society right here.
It's awesome.
I really like your Grievous pick because, like you're saying, even just the like threat of Grievous, like when he gets in close, there's always that threat of that 1 pip dropping on a big group of guys, and so like whether he gets in or how effective he is, you kind of got to play around that play a bit, and so just his presence on the table can be affecting. Yeah.
My favorite play from the last tournament I went to with the one pip was him not even using the effect, just using the disengage to move farther than my opponent thought he was going to move to contest a POI.
Wow.
That was only held by one unit, and so that that disengage range being much larger than a standard speed 1 and then a move was actually game deciding for me. And it's not like that's a new trick for Grievous, but people have not really played against him because he wasn't as popular. And so there are a couple old Grievous tricks that I pulled out that people have caught, one or two people. So that was a big one, because when you play the one pip, they're like, okay, where's he going to go where he's going to hit like 5 units, right?
Mhm.
That's what everybody thinks.
Mhm.
So people like there was like this one guy, he kind of like he scattered because he didn't want to all be in one place. And I was like, oh, cool, I'm just going to go walk over here. He's like, what? I'm like, you're not even, like, I didn't even move into base to base with a new unit. I just walked over somewhere. And he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm contesting this POI.
I'm winning the
I'm
game.
winning the game, yeah. I'm playing the missions.
So yeah, I'm glad that you're cool with that pick, because he's been solid.
It always
for me
seemed like
lately.
there was something that he needed to make him not the best unit, but just a change that needed to happen. And it feels like with the culmination of the new rules and cover, and then him getting his a little bit of a tweak, I think, yeah, like you're saying, there's
I
definitely
also
a
think
play
just
style we could
starting
have.
closer for him is good too.
Yeah, well, I
Like
think that
there's
helps
less
too.
of that march across the battlefield for him now. So
yeah, because you don't really have to. His courage too is not so much as a liability anymore when you can get into combat turn 2.
And-
Yeah, I honestly I have not had a lot of problems with his courage too.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of my droid army that wants to hide. It's very much a wide front type of list that is just kind of in your face. So like that one really juicy spot, that's Grievous's spot. He gets to hide in the really good spot because nobody else in the droid army needs it. Usually, like if you bring a super tack, he's not vying for the same piece of juicy hiding real estate that Grievous is, trying to get forward of your guys. So I feel like it doesn't compete the way that it used to in a problematic way. And
Yeah.
you've also got tricks like, Aqua Droids hiding behind them and, burning out through those. And like you guys just talked about earlier with the area terrain. I haven't even really got to experience that yet. That's going to be super fun.
Yeah.
So, and backup if all that else fails, because there's going to be droids around.
And if
so
all else fails, backup.
And backup makes it where you really, if it's a backup shot, you really don't even want to take the shot most of the time. I mean, there's probably some times where it's worth it, but a lot of times it's like, I'm not even going to bother.
Which kind of makes it like, oh man, cover did used to feel really bad, huh?
Yeah.
If it's like that much of a deterrent now.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, cool. You should comment and tell us what you guys have been enjoying playing in the new edition, what you guys think needs help, and also you should join our Discord and harass Matt about his gray stuff behind him, and see what wild takes you can make Mitchum say super definitively. But yeah, cool. I like a lot of those. I'm enjoying 2.6. I'm enjoying I'm even more now with the quality of life stuff for the rest of the factions. So
throwing things over here.
Hopefully everyone will feel that way soon, sooner than later. But okay, before we head out, we're gonna wrap it up with we're gonna revisit the old command card Tower of Power. It's been a minute. I don't know if you guys know, there's been some announcements and changes in Legion recently. It's been a little hard to kind of fit this stuff in, but we're gonna go with an oldie but a goodie, and that is our shout out to Kashyyyk Chat, our Wookiee hunter Bossk.
This is why Randy's banned from Kashyyyk Chat, and this is why.
Very
Did
funny
it?
because I didn't want to throw Bossk in as the 0. But I know he's a hot take 0 for some people. Not for me personally, but I know for some people. So I'm excited to see where this conversation goes.
I think he's still good, but we'll see. I mean, if you want to make him better, I'm all about that. Okay, let's get at some command cards here. Oh, I have to add you, Bossk. There we go. Should we start at the top or start at the bottom? Pip wise, not.
Let's start at the
Not-
worst one. So let's start at the top.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yes. Okay. I will say here, we will link the command card Tower of Power so you can check out our very official Google sheet here. But just to give you a gauge of where some things sit at. At 1, we have We Do What We Do, followed at 2 by Fear, Surprise, and Intimidation. At 11 is Mechanized Incursion. No one has any problem with that ever.
Holding strong.
And at 27, we have Synchronized Offensive, and that's 27 is the current bottom. But yeah, things change. They do change.
And this is not exhaustive. We haven't got everything in here. We intentionally avoided doing old cards because we thought, hey, they might get reworked. So, but now we can start in earnest.
Also, it's probably like I think it's enjoying for me to argue these things against everything, but also within the vacuum of the current list, because I know it's really frustrating for people who really love those cards that aren't out there yet. But okay, Merciless Munitions, 1 pip permanently during a round. Boss can take an action to arm a Deoxys charge. After Boss makes this action, he can make a speed 1 move until the end of the game. Boss gains detonate 1 Deoxys charge. After a troop unit defends against a Deoxys charge attack, that unit gains 1 poison token. Do not discard this card for play. And the Deoxys charge is range 1, blast, critical 2, a red, and a black.
So, just a quick question.
Yes.
For the Bossk players. You don't. So when it says you gain a poison token, you don't have to do a wound with the Deoxys Mine. You just automatically gain a poison token.
Yep.
Okay.
This is different than poison weapons like the rad cannon.
Like the rad cannon. Okay.
Where you do have to do a wound.
Okay. So maybe I spoke a little too soon, but I think of the 3 that he has, this one is still the worst. That's just
it's hard because it's guaranteed damage because of that clause.
Yep.
And it is very hard to come up with things in Legion that are guaranteed damage.
Sure.
And because you just have to defend, you don't have to even roll to hit. They just have to be the defender. That really does help elevate it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think having played Bossk in 2.6, I think that the way, you fight around POIs make this card a little more valuable than maybe it may have been otherwise. Because, fights are closer, you're going to be able to get more people around POIs. But I also think that, like, in the same vein, most POI missions are going to be 4. Whereas before, there were a lot of things that centered around either 1, 2, or 3 central things. Whether it be, okay, there were 3 KPs, but one of them was really important, and that was the one in the center. There were 5 boxes, but you were really only fighting over a couple of those 5. There were only 2 bomb cards, for example. So, I think there are more objectives to battle track in 2.6 than there was in Legacy Legion. And so it also kind of takes away from that skill a little bit, because just like a lot of things in 2.6, it's very dependent on your placement and your movement. If you make a wrong call, you can't always adjust in time to fix the problem. And if you decide that I'm going to throw this merciless munition bomb on point B, and the fight ends up really focusing around C and D, then maybe you're not getting the value you thought you were going to get out of taking that. And, it's a 1 pip. That means we're, fighting against fear, surprise, intimidation, and trained in your Jedi arts, and they too will suffer. And mechanized incursion in in the droid army specifically, and I'm saying that as a droid player who can deal with the lack of control a lot better because I have a lot more direct and coordinating things in my army. For Imperials, I would think that's even worse. And it would give that even less incentive to bring this command card that gives Bossk an attack that is harder to get value out of maybe than you initially think it might be. So I think at its base, this one starts in the bottom third. I'm thinking between Sith will rule and air support, or Sith will rule and sabotage. Come at me, chat.
I definitely think it's below Roger Rogers. That's where I was starting. I was like, I'm not even going to look above Roger Rogers.
I knew it was below mechanized incursion. So, I mean, that's where at least I was starting.
I looked at the middle, and the longer I looked at the middle, I was like, no, I'd rather have, those cards. And, not a lot of the cards that are in the middle aren't 1-pips, except for MI.
Mhm.
So, like, it's a little hard to gauge with where the tower is at now. But, yeah, I have a hard time justifying it in the middle of the tower where it stands currently, and think the bottom third, maybe at the top of the bottom third is where I'd put it.
Yeah.
It's definitely the first one to get cut. If you're cutting a command card of Bossk, this is the first one that goes.
Yes,
for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. It just doesn't play into his strengths of rolling that slot machine on his gun. And typically if someone's diving into him, doing the bomb on one character, probably not great.
Yeah, I also don't always want to put him somewhere where he's in range 1 to throw a bomb.
Yes, exactly.
His
It's
other
also
command
kind of
cards want
telegraphed.
him to hang back.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Why is Bossk running up to this POI all of a sudden?
I wonder why. Why is Bossk beeping? Weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that range. I would even put it under orbital strike.
Mm-hmm.
And I just say that because I think when you're playing those airstrike cards, you have a target in mind.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get it off on the targets you want to get it off on.
That's fair. I will like LJ was saying though, it is still guaranteed damage where air support and orbital strike are not.
That's true.
So, and
I'm fine with it either way. Wherever you want to put it, I'm
Yeah.
totally fine with. Probably below Sith will rule, just because at the absolute floor, Sith will rule is giving Count Dooku dodge. So that's
true.
Real good.
I like
That's
that.
value added.
Yeah.
And Bossk is losing his surges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he's getting into range 1.
Yeah. So he's going somewhere he doesn't want to go.
It just goes against
with less defense.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
good news is that's by far the worst Bossk card, and it's not particularly close.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll continue to move up into Reptilian Rampage. So it's this 2-pip. During Bossk's next activation, he can make up to 2 attack actions instead of the normal 1. Once during Bossk's next activation, he may suffer 1 wound. If he does, he may make a free move action. This card's great. This is the scoring your bounty card.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you an epiphany I just had. All bounty hunters should have a double attack card like this. And then I thought about it for a second. I was like, well, most of them do.
Yep.
Cat has the ability. Mando has the ability. But you know who's lagging behind a little bit is Boba. And Boba doesn't necessarily have this kind of ability that lets him do primary attacks.
Yeah.
He's got his gaffy stick shenanigans. He can bolster other people with Rebel Boba and rule with respect. But, like, being able to do your primary attack twice makes the risk of bringing a selfish character like a bounty hunter, I think, worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
And this kind of set the standard for those cards
to
come later. And not only does it let you do that, but then now you've got the added clause of the movement that you can take for a lowly cost of 1 wound.
Which you might regenerate off anyways.
Which because the
Yeah.
timing is the same, you might just regen back anyway, because you take
Yeah.
the wound, then you proc regen, unless you're crazy and you proc regen and then take the wound because you're a mad person. So like
So-
I
yeah.
think like this card again, I think it set the standard for bounty hunters in that every one of them should have an attack like this, and we see the effect of if they don't have an attack like this. Again, I think in droids, auto take, because even though 2-pip can be a contentious spot depending on the type of droid list you're running, but isn't always. Preservation protocols for me and Reptilian Rampage, I was bringing a lot together. I don't need to bring Supreme Commander, so it wasn't, fighting that. Double the Fall, probably I would bring it with this card, but at the end of the day, like I never felt bad bringing it. Never felt like it was edging out something that I would have wanted better. So, in
Yeah.
contrast to the previous card, this one's going to be up there. Again, I think because of that, like setting the standard. And I don't mean up there as in like top 5, but again, like I'm thinking like bottom of the top third.
Yeah, I this is a top 10 card for me, I think.
Yeah.
At least
Yeah.
with the current list.
Mhm.
Luckily, at this stage, that is still the top 10.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Right. Like
It's better than Mechanized Incursion.
That's gonna be like just our new talking
That's the
point for
bench.
everything. Is it better than Mechanizing?
Yeah.
I'm thinking around number 8.
I think it's better than Attack of
okay.
the Clones for sure. And Assault, the value in Assault is it's a generic.
It's a generic thing.
Yeah.
So I'd go. I'm fine with 8. That's fine with me. So I don't know if this is the right place to ask this
Mhm.
because Randy, you're the expert. I guess LG plays some Bossk too. The play pattern Randy typically did with Bossk was hide Bossk, lying in wait, move up, shoot at the end of the round with lying in wait, then Reptilian Rampage, shoot twice, and then move back down so that I couldn't respond. Is that still kind of how you play it in the new Legion?
Yeah, I think I play Bossk very slow and purposeful. Like I previously said, I was running him. It was 6 Rad Cannon B1s, Grievous, 2 Magna Guard, Bossk, and then double or triple and triple Spider. It was 13 Actoroids, and everything, and that was triple Flame Spiders, by the way. So everything went forward,
Mhm.
and there was always one POI or one thing that needed babysitting, and that was Bossk. And Bossk was just sitting back there, double, single tapping stuff from his little hidey hole. And then as soon as like something got super weak or that I could leave behind, that thing would take a step back and maybe Bossk would step a little farther forward. But like, yes, I think that play pattern is still a good one. I think if you do that and you're able to maybe maximize suppressive on his gun, maybe not shoot at the same unit, but split your fire and maybe get into suppression shenanigans a little bit for, to lose somebody in action or maybe even panic somebody before they score a POI, I think is undervalued and makes it feel like he earns his points, even if he's not necessarily, killing everybody left and right. I think his lack of sharpshooter is counterbalanced by how cover changed a little bit, in the positive more than the negative.
Mhm.
He's another character that I would love to see get maybe an aggressive cut, though, to really see if he can shake up list building a little bit by, again, bringing him at that really aggressive, like 85, 90 price point to where
Couldn't
maybe
agree
you
more. Couldn't agree
maybe
more.
you upgrade him to 105 or upgrade him to 100 because now you are incentivized to put a couple things back into him, or you keep him cheap and you make him an absolute freaking menace and see how that feels.
Jesus.
I know.
Wookiees are crying
Think about
everywhere.
that. So anyway, like I said, the card is a benchmark, and that play pattern is verified.
Yeah. I
Verified
think
fresh.
this is one of the reasons why he's been so consistently, maybe not good, but he's been so consistent throughout the entirety of since he was released. Even in Legacy Legion, this was a good card, and in 2.6, it was a good card, and he has not changed a whole lot throughout the years. and there's a reason for it. And I think it's on because this and his next command card have just been so consistent in what they do, and just solid design and solid command cards. And I think this is what can happen with a unit when it's very well designed and it just works so really well.
It just works.
It just works.
Todd
It
Howard.
does. It does what it does. You know, it does what it
Yeah.
does.
I love it.
So, is it? I mean, I guess 8 is fine. I'm not gonna argue above a Dooku card. So I don't know. I don't play him very much. So
I think I'm okay with Dooku being there just because of the state of the characters right now.
Yeah, well, and I would rate You Disappoint Me higher because of the objective potential
oh, true.
that
True.
still allows Dooku to have between, lightning somebody off a point and pushing somebody off a point and
Yeah.
maybe force choking a remaining unit leader.
Yeah,
I've done that with his 3 pips, so
that's fair.
that's still a solid amount of displacement.
That's fair.
Cool. And then we're on to the 3-pip. We got Lying in Wait. Bossk gains Sharpshooter 1. Until the end of the round, each time an enemy ends its activation, Bossk gains 1 aim token. I would love if the Sharpshooter 1 went on to the double attack card, because he does not need Sharpshooter 1 on this card.
Yeah,
I didn't
5
even know
pierce
this
1,
game
5
had
pierce 1,
Sharpshooter
5 pierce 1, 5 pierce 1.
I think
Yeah.
98% of the time on this card, it's 5 crits coming through.
Yeah.
Yep. Gosh.
Yeah. Man, if you really wanted to be a jerk to boss players, you move the Sharpshooter onto the Dioxis mine because it's permanent.
Oh,
So you have to play that
Oh god.
to get the Sharpshooter. Man,
there you go.
boss players hate this one trick. I've kind of moved away from Lying in Wait just a little bit, and not enough to say I'm like consistently dropping it, but I don't feel I want it as much as I used to. And again, that's not because there's like some command card that is edging it out. I'm not running like a ton of characters in my droid. That's usually a commander and an operative, or 2 commanders at most these days. So like I don't think command card fighting has anything to do with it. I think almost what you just alluded to. I think the Sharpshooter 1 is not necessary and has almost never been necessary. I think it's necessary less now that cover is where it's at. But I do think the card plays into the way droids like to play their opening turn. They like to play slow. They don't need to steal the initiative from you for the first couple turns, so they can afford to play, standing orders and then the 3-pip. Or I've still played the 3-pip on turn 1, and then Bossk has just walked his happy ass onto the board as the last activation and shot something that happened to get too close because a speed 2 and a range 4 is still pretty decent to reach out and touch something.
Mhm.
So, like, I don't think it's bad. I will note that I am definitely less excited about this as I was with Reptilian, and it is not, in my mind, it does not rank as highly as Reptilian Rampage. I guess is really what I was trying to get to.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yeah, I agree. I still enjoy taking it in Shadow Collective just because I typically, if I play that round 1, I'll have some kind of HQ uplink on the buses, and then it's pretty much just core and commander in my bag, and then I've got improvised orders. So I can play around things still pretty well there. And if I'm running a lot of Black Suns, it's nice having a big range 4 punch, and I like coming on the board and just, okay, you brought those sleepers forward, you brought those arcs forward, let's wipe some of them off the board.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of aggressive stuff that wants to be aggressive right now. That's very in vogue in this current edition of Legion, and it felt like before it would delete somebody's like 4-man objective holder, or a 5-man squad would be brought down to just a unit leader. I feel like it's not doing that as often for me as it was previously. But it's still like it takes something that you cared about, and it's gonna seriously wound it, or it's gonna maybe take it out of contention on next turn, whereas you wanted to maybe be more aggressive with that. Now you got to either draw it back or risk it getting destroyed. So I do think you still have to respect it. Lying in
Yeah.
Wait still, it's like a B- for me right now.
Yeah. I'm thinking like middle third, maybe lower middle third.
Sounds like it's not better than mechanized incursion. So
There's a lot of droid cards ending up around MI. And I'm going to make it even worse by saying it should be between MI and Swift Protector or Swift Protector and A New Beginning.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you think it's better than Swift Protector?
Yes.
I think so too.
okay,
Yeah.
whoa.
I think so too.
That was my compromise, okay?
I think so too.
I gave you an avenue.
Yeah.
You're not gonna dodge those 5 crits, Mitchell.
No, I know. I think it's two different play styles, and I think rolling into crits is always good. So
I've been 5 pierced one so many times
and
with clones.
I think that has a lot to say with his card and his gun too being as good as it is. And honestly, like you guys were kind of alluding to, the suppression on the gun is very sneaky.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many times either I'm playing Randy or someone else with Bossk, and they're like, "Oh, that was suppressive, by the way." And I was like, "Ah, crap. Okay, so now that unit's suppressed and I can't score or whatever, and just like, or I can't move or anything." So, yeah.
You know what's too courage? Clone Commandos. You know who hates losing an action?
Clone
Oh,
Commandos.
I've taken so many second actions from Clone Commandos with Bossk. It feels so good.
It's like
That's
their whole
another
thing.
thing I've
It's their whole
done
thing.
with. Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm gonna play Lying in Wait, and I'm gonna at least strip your Katarin.
Right. Force
Yeah.
that. So now
Yeah.
they're in a bad position and they're Katarnless.
Yeah.
And removing a miniature, never a bad thing.
Mhm.
Yep.
Awesome.
Very good.
All right, so to recap, we have the old Merciless Munitions down at 24 between the Sith Rule and Air Support. And now we've got Lying in Wait at 13, just under Mechanized Incursion, and above Swift Protector. And we've got our good old reliable Reptilian Rampage at number 8, under You Disappoint Me, and above Assault. So we should wait a really long time to do Ahsoka's new cards just to like really stick it.
Well,
I gotta play
people
him
have
first.
to to play with them
Yeah.
and list build and
Yep.
learn a little bit
It could
more
take
about them.
years. I agree, LJ.
It could. We'll be on like our 5th Ahsoka by then, if MCP's any barrier.
Yeah. We're just gonna show up one episode.
We could do.
Mitchell's gonna have like Ahsoka face paint on, and we're just like, oh, I guess
Baby
we're doing
Ahsoka riding that like dog thing from
Yeah.
Tales of the Jedi.
Gosh.
Yep.
Still waiting
That's
for
right.
my Mando Battle Force and the invasion of Siege of Mandalore Battle Force. So
Yes. I would like the other side of that.
yeah.
Okay, well, awesome. Man, we'll head out here, but any other shout outs? Obviously, LVO, be looking for that ticket link to go up. Go get your
LVO
room block room.
tickets, 2nd, 3rd week of May. Take a look at the room block if you already know you want it. 2 through 5 October is the event. And no matter what ticket you buy, it's 3 days of Legion, so you can count on playing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, no matter which one you buy, which hopefully makes your planning a little bit easier. Locally on the east coast of Florida, there's something on Saturday, the Space Coast Legion Spring Tournament, which is an LVOAS qualifier, followed by the Crackdown on Corellia, which is a different store, also over on the east side of Florida, which is also an LVOAS qualifier. We have back-to-back events on the other side of Florida this weekend, which is super exciting. And then the 14th of June is our next local start tournament at Black Flag Gaming, which will be their second start tournament. We had 18 for their first Legion store tournament, which felt amazing. The store owner was super excited about that, obviously.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll do it again this time. And those are sandwiched, or I guess Rocky Top is sandwiched in between the two, which is kind of semi-local. There are a lot of people from here that like to go drive over to Rocky Top, which is during the weekend before Memorial Day next month. And then Jordan runs Crucible in the last week of September over in the Orlando area that he's worked really hard on. And I'm actually running the MCP tournament at Crucible because of course Jordan runs the Legion stuff. So
Cool.
got a lot of stuff in Florida to look forward to that I'm very excited about.
Awesome.
Yeah, around here, I think our next LVOIS is this weekend, so this pod won't be up before then. So
It'll be out after.
good luck to that. But there is Big D coming up at the end of May down in Dallas area. Make sure you sign up and go to that. Any other big tournaments to shout out?
Yeah, that if you click on any event that is on Longshanks that is part of the IS, they now have an LVO 25 tag on them. You can click on that tag to see current, past, and upcoming events that are in the series, which makes it a lot easier for people to find events. Which is very exciting. I know the World Team Championship is an LVOIS event that's coming up here soon as well. Next month, is it? And then Nova, which is in the fall, Gen Con, those should both be qualifiers. So there are a couple big name GTs that'll be coming up in the fall here soon. Lone Star in early August will be coming up, which I'm very excited for. Again, because the Texas-Oklahoma communities just bring a big old smile to my face every time I think about what you guys got going on over there. So yeah, that one too. I'm hoping I can maybe make it to that one finally. Now that I don't have as much going on as I usually do in August every year. So we'll see.
Very
cool. Very exciting.
One last one I'll shout out. Jerry's Game Shop, he got brought up earlier, but he just put out a Learn to Play Legion for the new edition video. We'll link it below. If you made it this far in the podcast, you may not need it, but you can direct it to some of those new players we talked about that are probably going to be coming to the game for sure.
It's going to be a pretty evergreen resource, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. So, hey, thanks so much for listening. We appreciate it. And just remember, X and O is just a game and LVO ticket away.
Yep.
Later.
Adios.
Yep.